Mr. Johnson? Mr. Becerra?
Here.
Mrs. Pat?
Here.
Mr. Ramick?
Here.
Mr. Woolley?
Here.
Mayor Sollers?
Here.
Mrs. Bauer? And then Mrs. Tokwa is excused.
Councilwoman Whitten, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3, can I have an acceptance of the agenda?
Yes. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda as is. Support.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilwoman Cross, supported by Councilwoman Whitten. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 4.1 is a motion to approve the acceptance of the minutes of the meeting held January 5th, 2021, and dispense with the oral reading.
Motion.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Remick, supported by Councilwoman Pats. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. This now takes us to the Mayor Communications part of the agenda. Mayor Sollers, do you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, nothing tonight.
Okay. Okay, this now takes us into the regular part of the agenda, but we do have members from Plant Moran here to give us our audit, and we'd like to start with that one first. So item 6.7 is a motion to receive and file the June 30th, 2020 City Financial Audit as presented by the auditors, Plant Moran, PLLC.
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Remick, supported by Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, how you doing? We have members from Plant Moran here. Typically, as you guys are aware from last year, they would present this during the study session, but since we are not doing study sessions at the moment, I asked them to come and give a brief presentation for council and for the people at home. And this will be our first time doing a presentation on our new system, so we'll see how it goes. You should also have a copy of the presentation slides to review as we go through here. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Doug Bohr from Plant Moran and also Bill Bricky from Plant Moran, who will be going over the audit presentation.
Okay, I'm going to be the technology guru here. I'm going to hit my button and everything's going to work okay here if my green light is on. Is everybody can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Council Chair Woolley, fellow council members, we appreciate the opportunity tonight to come on your agenda to speak about the audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020. A couple things before I get started here. So first of all, I want to thank a number of the departments that helped out with the audit this year. So this year is the first time we've ever done a virtual audit at the City of Taylor. So it was a new experience for everybody. In between use of collaboration rooms, video conferences, uploading of documents, and plenty of communication. Overall, the city did a great job really kind of pivoting to a remote environment, helping us get through the audit. And a number of the departments that were part of that included Finance and Treasury, the Mayor's Office, our Human Resources Director here at the city, who was involved in a lot of what we do, our Water and Sewer Department, DPW, Community Development. So there's a number of departments that are involved in the audits at the city. So we appreciate their help this year in really helping us get us through this virtual audit. In your packet tonight, there's really, let me just mention why Bill's here tonight. So normally, Carrie Shea and Nikki would come to our presentation. So Nikki is actually 8 months pregnant, so she's kind of staying away from the crowds these days just to be safe. And Carrie's out of town tonight. So Bill Ricky, one of my co-partners here, is our colleague partner on City of Taylor. So each of our larger client engagements have two partners, a lead partner and a colleague partner. And the colleague partner is kind of behind the scenes. He's kept informed of what's going on, but if there needs to be another information point that the city reaches out and wants to talk to a partner, and if I'm not available, Bill's in that role here at City of Taylor. I do the same thing with him at City of Trenton. Bill was born and bred downriver. He actually works on several downriver communities, so he's really very familiar with many of the communities down here and how they interact with one another. So Bill's going to be part of the presentation tonight. In your packet, there are 4 deliverables tonight, so there are 2 letters. One is an internal control letter. One is what we refer to as the end of audit letter, and that's really a back-end communication to our front-end communication early on back in July when we talked about what we were going to do relative to the audit, the risks we identified associated with the audit, how we were going to address those risks. So that thicker letter really kind of covers the results of the audit, and we'll walk through that after we go through the graphs. In addition, there's what we refer to as the general purpose financial statements. That's kind of the largest packet that's there, and that's kind of soup to nuts, all the information related to the city's audit. And it covers both the financial statements and the footnote disclosures. We're not going to walk through that in detail with you. We're going to try and cover that via highlights of the graph presentation, which is up on the screen, and there's also a packet in front of you as well. And so if you, I would like to maybe start with the graph presentation, and then I'm going to cover the first couple slides. Bill's going to jump in on some of them, and I'll finish up on the slides, and then come back and talk briefly about the letters. Does that work okay? Okay, terrific. Okay, so just maybe some financial highlights this year. So, you know, how do you boil down an entire financial year for the city and try and capture it in one spot? Well, we tried to do that in some respects with this first slide, and just to give you a little bit of a sense for, you know, what happened at the city for the year ended June 30th, 2020. First of all, on your statements, we have to provide an opinion on your statements. That's really what you pay for, is an independent third-party assessment of the financial condition of the city, both the presentation of its financial information in terms of the numbers as well as the footnote disclosures. We've provided what's referred to as an unmodified opinion. It is the highest form of assurance that you can receive from a third-party independent auditing firm. It's really what the state of Michigan is looking for when they review the reports, because those all get uploaded to the state. And also really the bond rating agencies, they take a look at that as well to see, is it an unmodified opinion, or sometimes referred to as a clean opinion. So it's important to get that, and what it says is that your financial statements are materially correct, both the numbers and the disclosures. So terrific job this year in terms of that opinion. Relative to the general fund, so in the end, the year closed out and used just north of $600,000 of fund balance. So your expenditures exceeded your revenues for June 30th, 20 by $600,000. You had budgeted to exceed that by almost $3 million, and so you came in significantly better than budget. Part of that is due to the fact that some of the capital projects got delayed because of the pandemic, so those got pushed to the subsequent year, and then the fund balance has been reserved for that in the subsequent year. That's about 1.7 of the difference. But the rest was some revenue sources that came in a little bit ahead of where you thought you were budgeted, and also some expenditures that were less than budgeted. So finance director does a pretty good job being conservative with his estimates, is what we found over the years, and that was the case again this year. Your unassigned fund balance at the end of the year is just north of $9 million. That's about 23% of your expenditures, or about 84 days of expenditures. You've asked in the past, like, what's a reasonable rule of thumb for unassigned fund balance for your general fund? And somewhere between 50 and 30% is what we typically recommend. So you're sitting at around 23% going into fiscal year 21. So you're kind of right in the middle of that range. So I think you're in a good spot there. The city continued, despite the pandemic, to invest in its infrastructure. So about $18 million was spent on roads, facilities, water and sewer infrastructure. That's $18 million for the fiscal year ended 20. So that's a pretty good sized number. And we're going to talk about a graph that kind of compares your expenditures to your depreciation to see is that aligned over the last few years. And we're just going to explain what that means in a minute. You did issue some bonds this year, so it's been a while since you've issued bonds, just shy of $5 million of bonds, and that was used for your media center and some of the other capital projects. Not all that was spent as of June 30th, so some of those funds have been restricted for fiscal year 21 when those projects will finish up. You did pay down $9 million in debt. So you issued roughly $5 million, you paid down $9, so you had a net pay down of about $4 million in debt this year, despite the fact that you did invest $18 million in the infrastructure.